My brother demanded, "Cancel your doctor's appointment and take me to my baseball game tomorrow." When I said no, a hard slap hit my cheek, making me stagger. "Selfish brat," my parents shouted. "His future matters, your life never did." So I walked away, and they ended up losing everything. Can you imagine being slapped across the face by your own brother right after you've told your family you might have cancer? And then, having your parents back him up, telling you your health concerns were just paranoid nonsense? That's exactly what happened to me. In that gut-wrenching moment, as blood welled up in my mouth and my cheek burned, I finally understood. After 27 years of being their punching bag, their ATM, their quiet scapegoat, I was done. My name is Everett Thompson. I'm 27, and until just recently, I lived in the same house I grew up in Lakewood, Ohio. I work a pretty demanding job as a software engineer, which I actually love. But my career, my life, my accomplishments, they always felt invisible compared to my younger brother, Jake. See, from the moment Jake could hold a bat, my parents decided he was destined for the major leagues. Every family conversation, every holiday, every breath felt like it revolved around Jake's latest game, his batting average, or which college scouts were watching. Meanwhile, I was just the older brother, expected to cheer from the sidelines, and, more importantly, understand when all the family resources flowed directly to him. I still remember the day my dad told me, "Everett, we need to use your college fund for Jake's summer training camp." I was in my junior year of high school, straight A's, working weekends, dreaming of MIT. My heart sank. "Jake has a real shot at something special," he said, looking at me expectantly. "You understand, right? You can always go to community college." And I did understand. I understood that in the Thompson family, my future was always negotiable. So, I went to Ohio State on scholarships and loans, worked 30 hours a week to make ends meet, and still graduated with honors in computer science. Guess who didn't show up to my graduation? No one from my family. Jake had a tournament. My mom would just wave her hand dismissively whenever I showed any sign of resentment. "Your brother has a gift, Everett. We have to nurture that. You're smart enough to take care of yourself." And I did. I took care of myself. And, increasingly, I took care of them. 2 years ago, when my dad lost his management job, I stepped in. He was 55, too proud for a lower-paying job, but also unqualified for anything comparable. My mom's part-time cafeteria work barely covered groceries. "It's just temporary," Dad assured me when I first offered to help with the mortgage. "Until I find something new." Temporary became permanent. My monthly contributions spiraled, from just the mortgage to utility bills, car insurance, property taxes, and even Jake's private pitching coach. All while my parents somehow maintained this ridiculous narrative that I was the lucky one, the one who had it easy with my fancy computer job. I buried the resentment, tried to convince myself, family helps family. But deep down I knew I was being used. The real breaking point, though, came quietly in my shower. I'd found a lump in my right testicle. For years, I'd ignored various health issues, the constant fatigue, sharp pains, night sweats. Always putting off checkups because money was tight, because I was supporting everyone else. But this was different. This terrified me. I made an appointment with a specialist. 3 weeks out, the earliest they could see me. I carefully marked it on the family calendar in the kitchen. "Everett, doctor, 1 p.m. For 21 days, that appointment sat there. Not a single word from anyone. No one asked if I was okay. It was just another day when Everett would be unavailable for family errands. Then, the night before my appointment, Jake burst into the house, eyes blazing with excitement. "Coach called. Special game tomorrow against Madison High. 3D1 scouts are going to be there." He was literally bouncing off the walls. My parents erupted in celebration, Dad on the phone with relatives, Mom rushing to prep Jake's uniform. "What time's the game?" I asked, already feeling that familiar knot tightening in my stomach. 2 o'clock, Jake replied, barely glancing at me as he texted his friends. "You'll need to leave work early to drive me. Dad has that job interview, and Mom's car's in the shop." My heart pounded. "I can't tomorrow," I said, my voice barely a whisper. "I have a doctor's appointment at 1. It's been scheduled for weeks." The room went dead silent. 3 sets of eyes, in perfect sync, swiveled to me, all reflecting the same infuriating emotion, inconvenience. "Well, obviously you'll reschedule," my dad said, A dismissive flick of his hand. I can't. It's a specialist. The waiting list is months long. What kind of specialist? My mom asked, a faint flicker of actual concern for a second. I hesitated. Oncology? I found a lump. The word hung in the air, heavy and terrifying. For maybe 2 seconds. Then Jake snorted. You're not dying, drama queen. It's probably nothing. Exactly, my dad chimed in. These doctors always want to run tests and charge you thousands. You can check it out later if it's still bothering you. What truly shocked me wasn't their dismissal of my health. It was how unsurprising their reaction was. This was the moment I finally grasped it. Nothing was ever going to change. Not unless I changed it. The final, brutal twist of the knife came later that evening. My dad pulled me aside, lowering his voice conspiratorially. Listen, Everett, I need to tell you something, but you can't get upset. He glanced towards the kitchen where Mom was making Jake's pregame meal. We've had to borrow your identity for a few things. What things? My voice was flat. I already knew. Nothing good ever followed that kind of preamble. Just some equipment loans for Jake. The sporting goods store has this great financing plan, but our credit wasn't good enough after the layoff. We used your social security number on a few applications. It's no big deal. We're making the payments. In that instant, 27 years of being the family afterthought crystallized into perfect, horrific clarity. I wasn't just neglected. I was being actively, intentionally exploited by the people who were supposed to love me most. The morning of my appointment dawned with a suffocating tension in the house. My dad had left for his interview, his first in months. Mom was getting Jake ready. I came downstairs, dressed for work, planning to squeeze in a few hours before my 1 p.m. appointment. Did you call to cancel yet? Jake asked, sprawled on the couch, glued to his phone. I'm not canceling, I replied, pouring coffee into my travel mug. I told you that last night. Jake's head snapped up. Genuine confusion. He wasn't used to me refusing him anything. But I need you to drive me. The game's at 2. I heard you the first time. My appointment is at 1. It'll probably run until at least 2:30, and the oncology center is clear across town from the baseball field. There's no way I can do both. So reschedule, he demanded. This is important, Everett. So is this. I shot back, an unfamiliar surge of courage, electric and terrifying, coursing through me. I've been waiting weeks for this appointment. I need to get checked. Out. Jake threw his phone onto the cushion. He stood up, his 6 feet 2 inches frame towering over me. At 18, he already had the physique of a pro athlete, thanks to years of training financed largely by my paycheck. You're being selfish, he snarled, his voice dropping to that dangerous tone that always preceded his rare, but violent, temper tantrums. You know what this game means to me. My mom appeared in the doorway, wiping her hands on a dish towel. What's going on? Everett won't take me to the game. He's still going to that stupid doctor appointment. Mom's face hardened. Everett, be reasonable. Your brother has scouts coming today. This could determine his entire future. And what about my future? I asked, my voice shaking slightly. What if this is serious? She waved her hand dismissively. Don't be dramatic. You've always been a hypochondriac, ever since you were little. That wasn't true. If anything, I neglected my health for years to avoid burdening them. But the Thompsons had a remarkable ability to rewrite history to suit their narrative. Remember when you thought you had appendicitis and it was just gas? Jake snickered. Or when you were convinced you had meningitis during finals week? I was 12. I hissed through gritted teeth. And I had a migraine. You've always needed attention, my mother sighed, exasperated. But today isn't about you. Jake needs this opportunity. And I need this appointment, I insisted, standing my ground. I'm not canceling. Jake stepped closer, invading my personal space. Cancel the appointment. No, the slap came out of nowhere. His palm cracked across my cheek with enough force to send me stumbling back into the counter. My coffee mug crashed to the floor, shattering, hot liquid splashing everywhere. The metallic taste of blood filled my mouth. My teeth had cut my inner lip. I touched my throbbing cheek in pure shock, looking up to see, not remorse on Jake's face, but righteous, entitled anger. More stunning than the physical assault was my mother's reaction. Or rather, her lack of one. Now look what you've done, she snapped, not at Jake, but at me, grabbing a dish towel to mop up the coffee. Making a scene when Jake needs to focus on his game. He hit me, I said, my voice barely a whisper. You provoked him. My dad's voice came from the doorway. He'd returned from his interview early, his expression grim. I could hear you all from the driveway. Did you hear him hit me? Stop being so sensitive, my father scoffed. Your brother is under tremendous pressure. These scouts could change his life. And what if I have cancer? The word hung in the air like a live grenade, pin-pulled. What if I'm actually sick? Don't be ridiculous, my father said, waving it off. Always exaggerating for attention. Selfish brat, Jake muttered. My mother stood up, the coffee-soaked towel clutched in her hand, her eyes colder than I'd ever seen them. His future matters, Everett. Your life, it never did. Those words, they struck harder than Jake's slap. I looked at each of them. My father, etched with permanent disappointment. My mother, radiating blatant favoritism. My brother, simmering with entitled rage. And in that moment, something inside me finally, irrevocably shattered. You know what? I said, my voice surprisingly steady. You're right. My life never mattered in this family. But that changes today. I walked to the drawer where we kept important documents and pulled out a folder. Inside were bank statements I discovered just last week. Credit card applications, personal loans, financing plans. All in my name, but with their contact information. Over $50,000 in debt that I'd never authorized. Want to explain these? I slapped the folder onto the counter. All these loans in my name that I never signed for? My parents exchanged terrified glances. My father recovered first. We were going to tell you. It's for Jake's training equipment, special camps, private coaches. The kind of opportunities that could get him noticed. You committed identity theft, I shouted. Against your own son. Don't be so dramatic, my mother snapped. It's just family helping family. We've sacrificed everything for this family. No, I corrected her, my voice rising. I've sacrificed everything. My college fund, my savings, my credit score, apparently. And now you want me to sacrifice my health too? One rescheduled appointment isn't, my father began. It's not just the appointment. I roared, startling all of them with my uncharacteristic outburst. It's 27 years of being treated like I don't matter. 27 years of Jake needs this, and Jake deserves that, while I get nothing but bills and obligations. Jake rolled his eyes. Here we go with the pity party. Something in me snapped. You know what, Jake? I've paid for your pitching coach for the last 2 years. I've covered the mortgage on this house since Dad lost his job. I've worked 60-hour weeks so this family doesn't lose everything. And not once, has anyone said thank you. The silence that followed was deafening. My father's face darkened with anger and shame. A dangerous combination. If you walk out that door to your precious appointment instead of taking your brother to his game, he said slowly, each word a threat. Don't bother coming back. I looked at each of them one last time. These people who shared my blood but had never truly shared my life. I'll be back later, I said quietly, to get my things. The oncology center was quiet, sterile. Muted beige walls, outdated magazines. I sat there alone, an ice pack pressed to my swollen cheek, filling out paperwork with my uninjured hand. The nurse had raised an eyebrow at my bruised face, but hadn't said a word. My phone buzzed constantly in my pocket. Increasingly furious texts from Jake, demanding to know where I was, how I could betray the family. My mother called 4 times, voicemails swinging between guilt trips and outright threats. I silenced the phone. I focused on the forms. Family history of cancer? I checked several boxes. My maternal grandfather, prostate cancer. An aunt on my father's side, breast cancer twice. Facts I knew, but my family rarely discussed. They didn't fit neatly into Jake's baseball destiny. Everett Thompson, a kind nurse called my name, leading me back to an examination room. The doctor, a woman in her 50s with compassionate eyes, listened carefully as I described the lump, the night sweats, the fatigue I'd been experiencing for months. How long have you had these symptoms? She asked, making notes. The fatigue, maybe a year. The lump, about a month. And you waited that long to come in? No judgment, just professional concern. Family complications, I said simply. She nodded. We'll need some tests. Blood work today, and an ultrasound and possibly a biopsy, depending on those results. How serious do you think it is? I asked, my voice barely steady. I can't say for certain, Everett, but testicular masses in men your age need to be taken seriously. It's good you came in when you did. She paused. Is there someone who can come with you to your follow-up appointments? A support person? I thought of my family, Probably at the baseball field right now, furious at my absence. No, I said quietly. There's no one. After the appointment, I couldn't face going home. Instead, I called Adam, a colleague from work who I'd become friendly with over the past year. We weren't super close, but he was the only person I could think of. Hey man, what's up? He answered, the sounds of his gaming session audible in the background. Adam, I started. I hate to ask, but is your offer still good about your spare room? Adam had mentioned he was looking for a roommate. I'd declined, unwilling to leave my family without my financial support. Yeah, it's still empty. You interested? I need a place to stay tonight, if possible. There must have been something in my voice, because Adam immediately turned serious. Everything okay? Not really. I can explain when I see you. Is it okay if I come over now? Of course, man. I'll text you the address. I drove to Adam's apartment. On the way, my phone rang again. My father. Against my better judgment, I answered on speaker. Where the hell are you? He demanded. No preamble. Jake's game started 30 minutes ago. He had to get a ride with Coach Barnes. I told you I wasn't canceling my appointment. So, you're really choosing yourself over this family after everything we've done for you. I almost laughed. What exactly have you done for me, Dad? Besides stealing my identity and treating me like an ATM? We gave you everything, he shouted. A roof over your head. Food on the table. The roof that I'm currently paying for. The food I buy with my paycheck. You ungrateful little, he cut himself off. Jake struck out twice already. The scouts are leaving. His shot at a scholarship is ruined, and it's your fault. A week ago, those words would have crushed me. Today, they bounced off newly formed armor. No, Dad. Jake's performance is Jake's responsibility, not mine. Don't come home, he said, his voice ice cold. We don't want you here. I'll be by tomorrow, I replied calmly, to get my things. I ended the call as I pulled into Adam's complex. He was waiting for me, his expression changing to concern when he saw my face. Dude, what happened to your cheek? I touched the bruise. I'd almost forgotten it. Family disagreement. Adam helped me bring in the few things I had. My laptop, a gym bag, toiletries. It wasn't much to show for 27 years of life. Spare rooms through here, he said. Nothing fancy, but the bed's comfortable. The room was small, clean. A twin bed, a dresser. It was more personal space than I'd had in years. Thanks, Adam. I really appreciate this. No problem. You want to talk about it? I sat heavily on the bed, suddenly exhausted. My family's been using me. Financially, emotionally. Today, I finally stood up for myself. It didn't go well. Adam nodded, not pushing. Been there, man. Different circumstances, but I get it. Stay as long as you need. That night, I lay awake. My phone kept lighting up with messages. Guilt and blame from my parents and brother. From Jake, thanks for ruining everything. Scouts left before the 7th inning. Hope your stupid doctor visit was worth destroying my future. From Mom, after all we've sacrificed for you, this is how you repay us? Your brother is devastated. From Dad, don't bother coming by tomorrow. I've changed the locks. Let us know where to send your things. The last one made me laugh bitterly. They'd locked me out of a house I was paying for. The audacity was almost impressive. I turned off my phone, but sleep wouldn't come. My mind raced with worries about my health, my finances, my future. The doctor had said they'd call with blood test results in a few days. Until then, all I could do was wait. The next morning, I went to work. Buried myself in coding projects to avoid thinking. Adam had left a note with the Wi-Fi password and a spare key. By lunchtime, a new worry surfaced. If they'd taken out loans in my name, what else? My bank accounts? Credit cards? I spent my lunch break on the phone, changing passwords, setting up fraud alerts. 3 days later, the doctor's office called. Elevated markers. They wanted me in for an ultrasound and biopsy tomorrow at 10 a.m. I'll be there. I took the day off work, told no one but Adam. He offered to drive. I declined. This, I had to face alone. The ultrasound was professional, but the biopsy that followed was uncomfortable. The doctor rushed the results. We should know something in about 48 hours. Easier said than done. Back at Adam's, I collapsed. My phone, silent during the procedure, showed 15 missed calls. All from my mother. I listened to the most recent voicemail. Everett, this has gone far enough. Your father and I need to access the joint account to pay the mortgage, but the bank says the password has been changed. Call me back immediately. The joint account was my personal checking account. where I'd added my dad years ago for his occasional consulting checks. In reality, it was the family account. They'd withdraw whenever they needed, rarely contributing. I deleted the voicemail. No call back. The next day, Sarah, my team lead, noticed my distraction. "Everything okay, Everett? You seem off your game." I hesitated. A partial truth. Family issues and some health concerns. Waiting on medical test results. Her face softened with genuine concern. More than I'd seen from my own family in years. "I'm so sorry. Anything we can do? Just some flexibility with my schedule for follow-up appointments." "Of course. Just let me know." Her simple kindness. It nearly broke me. I thanked her, retreated to the bathroom, splashed cold water on my face until I regained composure. That evening, the doctor called earlier than expected. I stepped onto Adam's balcony, my heart hammering. "Mr. Thompson, this is Dr. Chun. I have your biopsy results." I closed my eyes, bracing. "Go ahead. The mass we biopsied is malignant. You have stage 2 testicular cancer." Despite suspecting it, hearing the words out loud made my knees buckle. I gripped the railing. "The good news," she continued, "is that testicular cancer, even at stage 2, has an excellent prognosis with treatment. I'd like to refer you to an oncologist immediately." Cancer. I had cancer. At 27. And I was utterly, completely alone. "Mr. Thompson, are you still there?" "Yes," I managed. What happens now?" "Dr. Ramirez has an opening tomorrow morning at 9. Typically, treatment involves surgery to remove the affected testicle, followed by possible radiation or chemotherapy." Surgery, radiation, chemotherapy. The words swirled like a toxic fog. "Thank you. I'll be there tomorrow." I stood on the balcony for a long time, watching the sunset paint the sky. For the first time since leaving home, I allowed myself to cry. Not for the family I'd lost, but for the terrifying, uncertain future ahead. The oncologist's office was packed. Dr. Ramirez was direct but gentle. "Good news is, we caught it relatively early," he said, pointing to images. "Standard treatment is radical orchiectomy, surgical removal, followed by chemotherapy to get any cells that might have spread." "When would surgery be?" "Early next week. And chemo starts 2 weeks after that. 3 cycles, about 9 weeks total." 9 weeks of chemo. My mind raced with sick leave, insurance, finances. "I have some concerns about payment," I admitted. "High deductible, currently between living situations." He nodded. "We have a financial counselor. Many patients qualify for assistance." I left with a folder of information and a surgery date for Tuesday. The reality of my situation hit hard. Cancer. Homeless. No family support. Back at Adam's, I found him making lunch. "Hey," he said. "How did it go?" I set the folder on the counter. "It's cancer. Stage 2. Testicular. Cancer. Surgery on Tuesday." Adam's face went through several emotions, then settled on fierce determination. "Okay, what do you need? I can take you to the hospital, pick up prescriptions, whatever." His immediate offer, without hesitation, made a lump form in my throat. "Just the ride would be great," I managed. "I won't be able to drive after anesthesia. Consider it done. And you stay here as long as you need, man." Seriously, over the weekend, I focused on practical things. Notified HR, researched short-term disability, budgeted for medical expenses. I deliberately avoided thinking about my family, but they hadn't forgotten me. Sunday afternoon, my father showed up at Adam's. I never found out how he got the address. When Adam answered, Dad pushed past him into the living room where I was on my laptop. "Finally," he said, looking around Adam's modest apartment with disdain. "Your mother's been worried sick." "No, she hasn't," I replied, calmly closing my computer. "What do you want, Dad?" "We need to talk about the bank accounts and these ridiculous accusations you've been making about identity theft." "They're not accusations. I have proof of multiple loans taken out in my name without my consent." "That's family business," he said dismissively. "Nothing for you to get worked up about." "It's fraud, Dad. It's a crime." His face darkened. "So you turn on your own family? After everything we've done for you? What exactly have you done for me lately?" I asked. "Besides steal my identity and hit me when I wouldn't cancel a doctor's appointment?" "That was Jake, not me," he protested weakly. "And you stood there and let it happen, then blamed me for it." Adam, listening from the kitchen, stepped forward. "I think you should leave, sir." My father finally noticed him. "This doesn't concern you. It's my apartment, so yeah, It does, Adam replied. Everett's staying here as long as he needs. He has a home, my father insisted. With his family, where he belongs. I have cancer, Dad, I said quietly. The words hung heavy. For a brief moment, I thought I saw genuine concern flash across his face. What? Testicular cancer. Stage 2. I'm having surgery on Tuesday. He stared at me, processing. Is this some kind of trick to make us feel bad about the baseball game? The question was so absurd, I actually laughed. Yes, Dad. I orchestrated an elaborate cancer diagnosis to make you feel bad about prioritizing Jake's baseball game over my health. You caught me. Don't take that tone with me, he snapped, but the effect was diminished by his obvious discomfort. If you're really sick, you should be at home where your mother can take care of you. I don't need taken care of. I need to focus on getting better without the constant drama and manipulation. He ran a hand through his thinning hair. Look, just come home. We can sort all this out as a family. There's nothing to sort out. I'm staying here. I'm getting treatment. And I'm dealing with the identity theft legally. What's that supposed to mean? It means I filed a police report and frozen my credit. Any further attempts to use my social security number will be flagged as fraud. His face paled. You can't do that to your own family. Watch me. After he left, Adam looked at me. So that's what you meant by them using you. That's part of it, I confirmed. They've been financially abusing me for years. I just didn't have the courage to call it what it was until now. The surgery on Tuesday, when is scheduled. A straightforward procedure. I woke up groggy to find Adam by my bed. Doctor says it went well. No complications. Thanks for being here, I mumbled. No problem. They said you can go home once you're awake and can keep down food and water. Home. The word felt so different now. Not the house I grew up in, but Adam's apartment, my temporary sanctuary, now my refuge. Recovery was quick, but chemo was another matter. My oncologist warned about nausea, fatigue, hair loss. I decided to be proactive. The weekend before my first treatment, I shaved my head. Adam helped, clippers buzzing, trying to make me laugh. Not bad, he said, surveying my bald head. Good-shaped skull, man. Some guys look like aliens. The first round of chemotherapy was worse than I'd anticipated. Nausea hit 6 hours after treatment, sending me to the bathroom floor for most of the night. Adam left water and crackers, checking on me, but giving me space. By the third day, I was marginally better, weak and shaky, but able to eat small meals. I was at the kitchen table, forcing down bland oatmeal, when there was a knock. Adam was at work. I dragged myself to answer, expecting a delivery. Instead, Jake stood in the hallway, shifting uncomfortably. Jake, I said, genuinely surprised. What are you doing here? He stared at me, clearly shocked by my appearance. In 3 weeks, I'd lost 15 pounds, shaved my head, and acquired the grayish pallor of a chemo patient. You really do have cancer, he said, his voice small. Did you think I was making it up? I stepped back to let him in. Too tired for hostility. Mom and Dad said. He trailed off, following me. They told me you were just trying to get attention, that you'd always been jealous of my baseball career and were making up health problems to sabotage me. The casual cruelty of this lie shouldn't have surprised me, but it still did. And you believe them? I said, sinking onto the couch. Jake remained standing, looking around awkwardly. They've never lied to me before. At least I didn't think they had. What changed your mind? He pulled out his phone, showing me a Facebook post from a high school friend who worked as a nurse at the hospital where I'd had surgery. She'd mentioned seeing me, wishing me a quick recovery from a serious health challenge. I asked her what was wrong. Jake explained, and she said she couldn't say much, but that you were facing cancer treatment. She seemed surprised I didn't know. I nodded, too exhausted for anything but a dull ache at this latest evidence of my parents' manipulation. So what kind is it? He asked, sitting gingerly on the armchair. Testicular. Stage 2. Surgery last week to remove the tumor. Started chemo yesterday. Jake winced. That sounds rough. It's not great, I admitted. But the prognosis is good. Over 90% survival rate. We sat in uncomfortable silence for a moment. Then Jake spoke again. I'm sorry I hit you, he said quietly. I was freaking out about the scouts, but that's no excuse. No, it's not, I agreed. But I appreciate the apology. And I didn't know about the loans, he continued. Mom and Dad just told me we had money for training and equipment. I never questioned where it came from. Of course, you didn't. You were raised to believe you deserve the best of everything. no matter the cost to anyone else. He flinched at my bluntness, but didn't argue. Dad's in trouble, he said after a moment. There's a police investigation. Something about embezzlement from his old company. This was news to me. Embezzlement? Are you sure? Jake nodded. 2 officers came yesterday. I only heard parts, but it sounded like they think Dad was taking money from his employer before he got laid off, and using your identity somehow to hide it. The pieces clicked into place. Why my father had been so resistant to me filing a police report. Why he'd been so desperate to maintain access to my bank accounts. He wasn't just funding Jake's baseball dreams. He was hiding stolen money. Is that why you came here? I asked. To warn me. Partly, Jake admitted. But also I wanted to see if you were really sick. And to say I'm sorry. I've been thinking a lot about how we've treated you over the years. It wasn't fair. The understatement of the century, but a start. No, it wasn't, I agreed. But I'm not the same person anymore, Jake. I can't just forget everything and go back to how things were. I know. I don't expect you to. He hesitated. Would it be okay if I checked in on you sometimes? Maybe helped out with stuff while you're doing chemo. I studied my younger brother, seeing, perhaps for the first time, not the golden child, but a confused teenager whose worldview was crumbling. I'd be okay with that, I said finally. But I have boundaries now, Jake, and I expect you to respect them. He nodded solemnly. I can do that. As he left, promising to text me later, I felt an unexpected lightness. Not forgiveness. Not yet, but perhaps the first step towards something new. The police investigation moved faster than I expected. 2 weeks after Jake's visit, a detective contacted me. Detective Marissa Reynolds, sharp-eyed, in her 40s, met me at a coffee shop. Thank you for meeting me, Mr. Thompson, she began. I understand you're dealing with health issues. Call me Everett, I said, and I'm happy to help. I want to understand what's been happening myself. She nodded. Your initial report concerned identity theft. During our investigation, we discovered connections to a larger case involving Midwest Manufacturing, your father's former employer. Jake mentioned embezzlement. That's correct. We have evidence suggesting your father diverted company funds over 3 years before his termination. Just over $200,000. I nearly choked on my tea. $200,000. The method was quite sophisticated for an amateur, she continued. He created vendor accounts for non-existent services, approved invoices himself, directed payments to various accounts. After his termination, he used your identity to hide these funds and secure additional loans. I had no idea, I said truthfully. I knew about some loans for Jake's equipment, but nothing on this scale. We don't believe you were involved, she assured me. You were a victim. However, we need your cooperation to build our case. I spent 2 hours going through financial documents, identifying forgeries, accounts I knew nothing of. The scope of my father's deception was staggering. Not just the loans I'd discovered, but credit cards, investment accounts, even a second mortgage on the family home, all in my name. What happens now? I asked. We have enough to move forward with charges, Detective Reynolds said. Both against your father for embezzlement, and against both your parents for identity theft. Given the amounts, these are serious felony charges. The reality hit. My parents could go to prison. That's a distinct possibility. Especially your father, given the corporate theft. She studied my face. Having second thoughts about cooperating? I considered the question. No, I said finally. They made their choices. I need to make mine. In the weeks that followed, my life fell into a strained routine. Chemo 3 days a week, followed by recovery days where I could barely leave the bathroom. Work from home when I could, short-term disability when I couldn't. Weekly calls with the detective. Jake visited regularly, bringing groceries, or just sitting with me through the bad days. He'd moved into a friend's basement after our parents' assets were frozen, finding a job at a sporting goods store. Coach Barnes says I can still practice, he told me one evening as we watched a game. But without a scholarship, I can't afford college next year. There are other options, I pointed out. Community college, student loans, working part-time. He nodded. I'm looking into all that. It's just different than what I expected. Welcome to real life, I said, but without bitterness. It's rarely what we expect. 3 months after my diagnosis, 2 huge things happened. First, Dr. Ramirez called. My latest scans showed no evidence of cancer. You're in remission. The relief was indescribable. A weight lifted that I hadn't even realized was there. I called Adam from the hospital parking lot. Then Jake, sharing the good news through tears I didn't try to hide. The second event, my parents' case was moving to court. I was required to testify. The courthouse was imposing. All marble and echoing hallways. I wore my best suit, hanging loosely on my still-recovering frame. Adam came for moral support. I hadn't seen my parents since that day I'd left home. My father looked smaller, his confident swagger replaced by a defeated slouch. My mother sat rigidly, her face a mask of barely contained anger. When I was called to testify, I told the truth, simply and directly. Yes, accounts were opened in my name without my knowledge. No, I never authorized anyone to use my social security number. Yes, I supported my family financially. Throughout, I avoided looking at them. But I could feel their eyes on me. My father's desperation, my mother's cold fury. As I stepped down, I saw Jake. He'd arrived late, slipping in. His expression a mix of shame, anger, grief. I nodded. The prosecution methodically laid out the case. Embezzled funds, identity theft, the planned escape to Mexico. Bank records, forged signatures, falsified documents. A damning portrait of calculated fraud. My father's defense, desperation, a man trying to provide. My mother's, unwitting accomplice. During a recess, I found Jake in the hallway. I didn't know, he said immediately. About dad stealing, about those loans in your name. I swear. I believe you, I said, and realized it was true. Jake had been as much a pawn as I was. They told me you were testifying against them because you were jealous, he continued. That you were making up lies. I shook my head. The bank records don't lie, Jake. I know that now. I don't understand how they could do this. To you, to the company, to us. Dad always believed the rules didn't apply to him, I said. And Mom would justify anything if it benefited you. It was the perfect storm of entitlement and favoritism. Jake winced. I'm part of the problem, too. I believed I deserved special treatment. That my baseball career was more important than anything else, including your health. It was the most self-aware thing I'd ever heard him say. You were a kid, raised to believe that. You're 18 now. What you do with that realization is up to you. The judge ruled the case would proceed. My father was taken into custody. Flight risk, they said, one-way tickets to Mexico in his and my mother's names. As officers led him away, he looked directly at me. Everett, Jake, please tell them you forgive me. Tell the judge it was all for the family. Jake stepped forward, his expression pained. No, Dad. Everything you did was for your ego. You wanted a son in the major league so you could brag. You wanted to look successful. None of it was for me or Everett. It was all for you. In that moment, I saw my younger brother truly grow up, shedding the last vestiges of the entitled child our parents had created. Our mother approached us, her composure restored, but brittle. I hope you're satisfied, she hissed. Your father's going to prison. Our home seized. Our family destroyed. You destroyed the family, Mom. Jake responded before I could speak. You and Dad, not us. After everything we sacrificed for you. Stop. Jake interrupted, holding up a hand. Just stop with that line. You didn't sacrifice for me. You invested in me like I was a stock you expected returns from. That's not love, Mom. That's exploitation. She recoiled as if slapped. How dare you speak to me that way? I am your mother. Yes, Jake agreed quietly. You are. And I still love you, even after everything. But I don't respect you anymore. And I won't let you manipulate me again. He turned to me. Ready to go? We left her standing alone, mouth open, no sound coming out. For perhaps the first time, I had rendered Patricia Thompson speechless. Jake caught up with me in the parking lot. Can I get a ride? I took the bus. Sure, I said. Adam excused himself, giving us privacy. We drove in silence. What happens now? Jake asked. The case goes to trial. Dad's likely going to prison for a significant time. Mom, too, possibly. No, I mean with us. With you and me. I considered. I don't know, Jake. We're not going to suddenly be best friends, but we're still brothers. We can figure out a new relationship. On better terms. I'd like that, he said quietly. Me too. It wasn't forgiveness, not completely. But it was a start. The sentencing was 6 weeks later. My father received 8 years for embezzlement, 3 for identity theft, served concurrently. My mother received 3 years for identity theft, eligible for parole in 18 months. Both ordered to pay restitution. the family home, and most assets seized. Jake and I spent a somber weekend boxing up what little we wanted. It's weird, Jake said, sorting through the garage. I spent my whole life in this house, but I don't feel that attached anymore. I understood. The physical structure had stopped being home long before I actually left. Home was safety, acceptance, love, things I'd never truly had in that house. In the year that followed, Jake and I built new lives. Separate, but connected in a healthier way. He completed his first semester of community college, discovered an aptitude for business. I might transfer to Ohio State, he told me. Study sports management. That sounds perfect for you. I agreed. Using your knowledge of sports in a different way. I still play on weekends, he added. But it's fun again. No scouts, no pressure. Just the game. My own life stabilized. Cancer-free, though with regular checkups. Adam and I became roommates, then true chosen family. At work, I got a promotion to senior software engineer. My performance had been strong enough that they accommodated my medical needs. With the higher salary, I rebuilt my savings and credit. I even started dating again. Sarah, the lawyer who'd helped with the identity theft, for coffee, then dinner, then something serious. She understood trauma and recovery. 14 months after sentencing, Jake and I visited our mother. Her third visit since incarceration. She'd aged dramatically, but there was a quietness, a reflectiveness, that was new. You both look good, she said. Jake, have you gotten taller? Same height, Mom, he smiled. Just standing straighter, maybe. We updated her on our lives. She listened more than she spoke. I've been meeting with the prison counselor, she said eventually. Talking about things. Our family. My choices. Jake and I exchanged glances. This was new. She says I have narcissistic tendencies. A bitter laugh. Apparently, I've been using my children as extensions of myself, particularly you, Jake. The admission hung in the air. She'd never acknowledged fault before. Is that something you agree with? Jake asked. She was quiet. I wanted so badly for you to be special. For our family to be special. When your father lost his job, I couldn't accept being ordinary, being failures. She looked at me directly. And I couldn't see that we were hurting you, Everett. Or maybe I didn't want to see it. It wasn't a full apology, but it was more self-awareness than I'd ever heard. Prison, it seemed, had provided something she'd avoided her entire life, self-reflection. We're working on a family counseling session, she continued. The three of us, if you're willing. Your father, too, eventually. I'd like that, Jake said. I was hesitant. I'll think about it. She nodded, accepting it without the usual guilt trip. That's fair. It's your choice. As the visit ended, she reached out, touching my hand briefly. I'm sorry about your cancer, Everett. I should have been there for you. A mother should be there when her child is suffering. The simple statement, without excuses, loosened something tight in my chest. Thank you for saying that, Mom. On the drive home, Jake and I processed the visit. Do you think it's real? He asked. The counseling, the self-awareness? I think it might be, I said. Prison has a way of stripping away pretenses. Do you think you'll ever forgive them? Completely. I don't think forgiveness is a destination, I said. It's more of a process. Some days I feel it more. But I'm not carrying the anger I used to. And that's freedom enough for now. Jake nodded. I'm still sorting through it all. Trying to figure out who I am without their expectations defining me. You're doing well, I assured him. Better than I was at your age. He grinned. I had a good example of how to break free. 6 months later, on a crisp autumn Sunday, Jake and I hosted a small gathering at my new apartment, a larger place I'd rented after Sarah and I moved in together. Adam was there, Jake's college roommate, friends from work. We were celebrating 2 years of my cancer remission and Jake's acceptance to Ohio State's business program. Sarah had baked a cake. As we sat around, sharing stories, I caught Jake watching me. What? I asked. I was just thinking about how different everything is from 2 years ago, he said quietly. Remember that day when I hit you? When we all said those terrible things about your doctor's appointment? Hard to forget, I admitted. If you had given in, he continued, canceled your appointment to drive me to that game, you might not have caught the cancer in time. And I'd still be the entitled jerk our parents raised me to be. And I'd still be enabling everyone at my own expense, I added. Sometimes, the hardest moments lead to the most necessary changes. Jake raised his glass in a subtle toast. To standing your ground when it matters most. I clinked my glass against his. To finding yourself when everything falls apart. Later, after everyone had gone, and Sarah was cleaning, Jake helped me with the tables. I got a letter from Dad yesterday, he said. He's taking classes in prison. Accounting, ironically enough. Good for him, I said, and meant it. He asked if you ever read his letters. I shook my head. Not yet. I'm not there yet, Jake. Maybe someday. That's okay. I told him you're doing really well. That we both are. As Jake left, hugging me tightly, I felt the full circle. From the brother who'd struck me in entitlement, to this thoughtful young man taking responsibility. From the doormat who'd subsidized his own exploitation, to someone who'd found his voice and boundaries. Walking back inside, I caught my reflection. My hair, grown back fuller, with new gray strands. Sarah wrapped her arms around my waist. Happy, she asked. I considered all I'd lost and all I'd gained. The family myths destroyed, the authentic connections built, the cancer conquered, the future reclaimed. Yes, I answered. I really am. Sometimes, the hardest walk away becomes the most important journey forward. By refusing to cancel my doctor's appointment that day, I didn't just save my physical life. I reclaimed my entire existence. And in that process, I gave Jake the chance to become someone better than our parents had ever imagined for him. Someone real, with flaws and strengths, and genuine choices. Sometimes, losing what hurts you is the greatest gain of all. And your true worth isn't measured by how others assess you, but by your courage to value yourself when no one else will. Have you ever had to walk away from someone you loved for your own well-being? What gave you the strength to take that first step? Comment below and share your story. Don't forget to like this video if it resonated with you. Subscribe for more content like this, and share with someone who might need to hear this message today. Thank you for joining me on this journey. And remember, your worth is not determined by how others treat you, but by how you choose to treat yourself.